In this video, I'm going to be talking about the lap joint, which doesn't get as much fanfare as some of the more aesthetically pleasing joints that people make, but I like it most importantly because it's extremely structurally strong. If you're making it the way that I make it, where you're essentially combining two pieces of wood by removing half of the material from one piece, the same thickness as the wood, using a solid glue to join them together, it's going to be extremely strong. The other reason I like it, and the point of making this video, is if you kind of want to wet your whistle with joinery, it's a really easy joint, beginner friendly and very versatile. You could see the way I usually make them is on the radial arm saw, but if you have a router, not usually the way I make it because I have such an easy setup with a radial arm saw, you can make them on that as well, but also extremely simple to make on the table saw. So if you don't have a lot of tools, there's a lot of options for making them, and it's one of those things where once you have it set up, you can pump them out pretty quickly, which I also like. So the other thing about it, like I said, it's not as aesthetically pleasing as some of the other joints, but when you combine it with other joints, in this circumstance I was making a bed, I was using a deep lap set into a castle joint. It can actually make a really nice looking piece of furniture that will hold up to pretty much anything you can throw at it. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be focusing on making a lap joint that fits inside a very popular piece of furniture, and that is these wine boxes, which you see people making a lot. Now, one of the reasons I decided to emphasize this video is because if you make custom furniture, or even if you're making furniture just for yourself or family or friends, you're going to learn very quickly that nothing you're putting in someone's home is ever going to go into a square nook or fit into a square spot. Things are usually going to be rectangular or out of square. So in order to deal with that in this circumstance, if you have a nice square box, this is a little bit of an easier process. But in my case, while my boxes look square, it was about 3 inches longer in one dimension than the other. So then you have to start worrying about angles. So in order to tackle this project, I'm going to show you how I went about making these angled laps in order to get a perfect X inside this box, which will make it not only really strong, but you won't have to worry about it falling apart down the road. So as you can see, I just cut my pieces to fit in both directions. I'm also going to be putting a face frame on this, so my process is going to be a little bit easier than someone that might not be doing that. I'll discuss the differences as we go, but essentially I just made sure I had my two pieces of ply fit corner to corner. I could set them on top of each other and mark where that intersecting point is. Once I have that intersecting point, I can go about setting up my tools in order to cut these. You can see once it's off the piece that it is not square. You can see it looks like a parallelogram, and we'll have to deal with that angle. So like I said, even though this is a deep lap, I'm still going halfway down into my piece, just as I would with you saw in the beginning intro with the poplar pieces. In order to set up my table saw, I'm going to use a bevel gauge to get that angle. I could transfer that angle to my saw, and while it is a slight angle, you do need it. It's about 9 degrees is what I was working with. Then I'm going to take out my crosscut sled. I've seen people do this against the regular fence, but it's a much safer cut with a crosscut sled, and I marked halfway on my wood. So then I could slide that sled forward and mark right where the blade is going to hit my line, and I could set up a stop. So you can see the blade is set right where my line is going to be, and obviously with the nature of the blade being curved, you are going to have to remove some material at the end of the day because it's not going to be a square cut. But I raise the blade up as high as it will go because that will remove the most material, and then I put a stop on the table saw, so this blade is going to go exactly where I need it for all of my pieces so that the top is flush. And then it's pretty simple. I have my marks. I'm going to line those marks up with the blade and cut out that material. You could see the way I do this is I very lightly put it against the blade, and then I could slide it which way I want, making it still a safe cut, get it lined up with that mark, and then go through. Once I have both of my edges done, I could just go through and make a series of cuts down the middle of that material. This is plywood, so it's going to splinter pretty easily, as you can see, and then that is essentially all that is. Could do the exact same thing on the other piece. I don't know if I show it in this video, but I'm actually making 2 of these. So I have 2 different sets because the boxes were also 2 different sizes. So that's what the nice thing about setting up a system like this for making furniture. I'm making identical boxes for someone's house, but where they were going, the measurements were 2 different measurements. So it's easy to replicate this if you set up a jig. Before I finish, I could flip this over and I will remove a little bit of material on the other side just to make chiseling slightly easier, because chiseling plywood's usually not as clean as chiseling's a hardwood. I could pop this into my vise and I could just make a series of curves with a saw. That's just going to make it so I can remove the material a little bit easier. But as you can see, because I flipped it over, it's just a little peak in the middle, so it was very easy to chisel that out, and then I could slide my 2 pieces together. So like I said, it is angled, so when I put it in there, this is going to fit those corners perfectly simply by transferring that angle with a bevel gauge to the table saw. Once these slide together, it's going to be a nice solid fit. Now, the way I build things, I like to make stuff solidly, but I did have some leeway in this because this is a paint grade project. So if you do have any gaps or minor undulations in there, I could technically patch them. And then as you see, they'll fit nicely into the box. Now, if you're not putting a face frame on this, the way that it should be done is you also have to go around and bevel all of your edges, which is another task within itself, which is why I'm happy a face frame was going on this. You can see my corners obviously fit my edges, but there is going to be a little gap on the bottom. And like I said, what you would do in that case is bevel all of those in order to get it to fit. I'm going to do that, but only on the face frame, because once it's in place, you can see you don't see that gap. So the face frame I'm using is poplar, and it's going to just sit on top of that. And since this is ply, it's not a true 3/4, even though my poplar is. So I ripped it down to 20. It's usually about 23-30 seconds. I'm going to use a straight edge and transfer where this box, where my X meets the box, onto the top of the box. I'm going to use those lines in order to bevel the edges of my poplar. So once I have those marks on the top side of the cabinet, I could transfer them to the bottom of the poplar, and then I could transfer those marks then to the sides of it, and once I have the sides on there, I can go through and make that bevel. Now, as you can see, this is a process doing it this way, but that's kind of the deal when you're working with angled pieces. Nice square 90-degree corners are always going to be easier. Anything with angles or anything with a curve is just going to complicate the process. Once I have those marks, I can go through and cut them. I'm pretty sturdy with the handsaw, so I just decided to use a handsaw to remove those pieces. Like I said, if I had any hairline gaps, this is paint grade, I could patch it, so I wasn't super concerned about this being perfectly straight, even though they turned out fine. And then once I did one side, I marked the other. I did them separately because just in case things shifted or changed, didn't want to cut them both at the same time. And you could see that slides right into place. So that is how I'm going to do the face frame. I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other one and get that one to slide in place as well. Now, in order to join these, what I decided to do was do an intersecting lap joint in the middle. That is just the way I like to do things. Is it overkill for this? It really is, but especially when putting something in a customer's house, even though this is painted, since this is hardwood and the cabinet is plywood, this hardwood will move on you a little bit as the seasons change. So if you're doing an intersecting lap joint, it usually hides that seasonal movement more than if you just do a butt joint at those X's. But if you're a beginner and you're watching this video and this part with the intersecting lap, looks a little intimidating, you can always just do butt joints in the middle. It's a much easier process. So once I had my marks the same way I did for the original X, I laid them on top of each other, marked top and bottom. I just did a series of curves, can remove that material. I'll go through and clean it up with a chisel, and then I could pop these into place. So these are also, once again, on an angle, and that is basically what that lap looks like. So I'm going to add to the list, you could cut it with machines, but if you have the time and the skill, you can also cut them with hand tools. And then I could just glue these to the container. So now this was not only flush with the face frame of my cabinet, everything's joined together, and these are never going anywhere. Wine bottles are not extremely heavy, but liquid does add up when you account for all the weight. So a joint like this is going to make sure this never falls apart on you. It'll be sturdy like this for the longevity of them using it, essentially. And then, like I said, paint grade project, so I'm putting a coat of black on it. If you want to see how I made these boxes and installed them, my video last week showed that, but I decided, like I said, to do a separate video because the joinery in the middle was enough to make a video in and of itself, kind of introduce people to a joint that isn't talked about as much as other joints out there.